having a personal crisis.
What?
What am I going to do?
Oh, poor baby. Why don't you make an amends to her? Tell her how genuinely sorry you are. She's got to accept that.
Leanne Tweeden, a model, sports broadcaster, and TV host, has revealed the behind-the-scenes harassment she endured on a USO tour with Senator Al Franken emceeing.
Al came up to me and he's like, well, we need to rehearse our kiss. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I just blew him off, because I'm thinking, we don't need to rehearse the kiss. I mean, we're doing a live, 60-second skit in front of troops. We're not filming a movie, right? And so I blew him off because I didn't think he was serious. And then he kind of said it again. He's like, well, we need to rehearse the kiss, Leanne. And I'm like, okay, Al, okay, you turn your head to the right. I'll turn my head to the right. Okay, we got this. It was relentless. That's what I could hear in his voice, right? He started getting relentless. And I'm like, why is he insisting that we have to rehearse the damn kiss? I mean, it's like a fake kiss, right? Yeah. This is all I could think about. I'm like, good God, Al, it's not SNL, for goodness sakes, right? We rehearsed the line and I'm coming towards him and he comes up and he grabs me and he puts his hand behind my head and he aggressively comes in and he mashes his mouth up against mine and he sticks his tongue in my mouth. And as it happens so fast and he puts his tongue in my mouth and his mouth is just wet and slimy. And to this day, I call him fish lips, okay, because it's disgusting.
Back in January, Franken went for the jugular on the GOP, championing sexual assault victims.
25% of American women say they have experienced sexual harassment in the workplace. And recent high-profile revelations about abuse, for example, former Fox News chairman Roger Ailes' abuse of his employees, as well as the allegations of sex bias at Kay and Sterling Jewelers, demonstrate that we are far from addressing this issue on a broader scale. So I urge my Republican colleagues to reconsider their support for this resolution. I urge them not to force vulnerable women who have been wronged into the dark.
Franken's hypocrisy even went so far as to silence dissent among American news media. And the power trip isn't just resonating from Franken's office. Two unnamed current members of Congress have engaged in sexual harassment, one of them allegedly exposing themselves to a staffer.
Like so many of you, I have a Me Too story to share. I was working as a congressional staffer. The chief of staff held my face, kissed me, and stuck his tongue in my mouth. So I know what it's like to keep these things hidden deep down inside. I know what it's like to lie awake in bed at night wondering if I was the one who had done something wrong. I know what it's like years later to remember that rush of humiliation and anger. You know what? Many of us in Congress know what it's like, because Congress has been a breeding ground for a hostile work environment for far too long. That's why I'm reaching out to congressional staff and to former congressional staff to share their Me Too Congress stories, if they feel comfortable in doing so.
Representative Jackie Speer also recently revealed that Congress has paid out 260 harassment settlements in the last 20 years to the tune of 15 million taxpayer dollars. Talk about hypocrisy. It's gotten so bad that congressional staffers signed an open letter demanding mandatory harassment training for the hordes of perverted, power-mad congressmen and congresswomen darkening the doorsteps of our nation's capital. Al Franken should resign today because he's simply the first domino to fall. John Bound reporting for INFOWARS.com.
Welcome into the War Room. I'm your host, Owen Schroyer. It is Thursday, November 16th, 2017, and I have stacks and stacks of news in front of me. I think I'll be able to get through it all today. A lone guest today, the lone wolf guest today, Candace Owens, will be joining me in the second hour. And I'm sure we'll be discussing the censorship that's going on social media, as she has been banned from Facebook. And now you're seeing people's blue verification mark on Twitter being removed. Alex talked about why this is important today. We'll continue to talk about that later. The GOP tax plan passes in the House. Does that matter? Saudi Arabian king is going to step down and hand over the crown to his 32-year-old son. Al Franken, the latest in Weinstein Gate to be accused of sexual assault. And then some other names followed, such as Sylvester Stallone. So we'll have more of that. More on Kevin Spacey as well. Meanwhile, Menendez walks in the New Jersey trial. I've got even a stack of memes, some of which were submitted to @WarRoomMemes on Twitter. So we'll cover the meme of the day from yesterday. And there are some other developing news stories that we'll be covering as well. But let's start off by getting into this Al Franken thing. In fact, I've got some Al Franken video here where it's basically another situation everybody knew, and it was just kind of a joke. Like, okay, yes, Al Franken is a twisted, weird, sexual deviant, but hey, it's just old Al. That's just how he is, and he's funny. Well, it's not so funny today, as you have the accusations, and the photo evidence really presented. I mean, he can say it's a joke all he wants, but obviously, that's not gonna bode well for old Al Franken there. This is the picture of Al Franken groping a sleeping reporter, Leanne Tweeden, and it's all over social media. You can't scroll through any of your social media without seeing it. You can't get on any website, including the biggest website in the world, Drudge Report, without seeing this picture. So that's now how Al Franken will be remembered, groping a sleeping reporter. Pretty disgusting. But, like I said, all of the Al Franken jokes from the past are now coming back to haunt him. Let's start with clip 20. I'm not even really sure how to categorize this joke. We'll call it a baby rape joke. This is Al Franken flashing back a joke he once made.
See, as a baby, Rob was routinely beaten by his
Talking about
father.
Rob Reiner.
On a typical night, Carl would slip into Rob's bed, roll him over, swab him down, and say something like, "I'm thinking about hiring Maury Amsterdam to play Buddy Sorrell. What do you think?" Well, the success of the Dick Van Dyke Show changed things dramatically. Carl started inviting many of his famous friends to son.
Okay, so funny then, not so funny now. Al Franken making a joke about Rob Reiner's father beating him and then inviting his friends over essentially to rape him. But just a joke, I guess, from Franken at the time. Now, what are the odds of this? This is Al Franken on the Hill actually referencing Leanne Tweeden as he's addressing the floor.
And during the show, I was kind of the co-host with a beautiful woman named Leanne Tweeden. And we'd do comedy routines, and we'd introduce the music, we'd introduce the cheerleaders.
So, boy, he really remembered Leanne Tweeden, didn't he? Really remembered old Leanne Tweeden. But it gets worse for Al, if you can believe it or not. How about this little ditty? We had to go into the Wayback Machine to find this one. This was from the Harvard Crimson, April 16th, 1976. This was a very long piece. You break into it at the end of the first page here. This is what Al Franken said. Al recalled writing a skit called Seaman on Broadway that was rejected from the Hasty Putting Show, quote, by some preppy so they could take some other preppy skit. Franken started to smile again, but his tone was serious, too serious. It's not preppies, because I'm a preppy myself. I just don't like homosexuals. If you ask me, they're all homosexuals in the putting. Hey, I was glad when that putting homosexual got killed in Philadelphia. End quote. The smile became so broad it pushed his eyes shut. Put that in, he said, laughing. Okay, so is that just a joke too, Al? Again, this is a Democrat, you know, the party for feminists, the party that represents women, the oppressed. They're anti-bully. They're anti-toxic masculinity. They're PC. But here's Al Franken groping sleeping reporters, making jokes about child rape, and saying he was glad that a homosexual got killed in Philadelphia. Okay. So, considering all of the reaction that we've seen from Roy Moore, the Republicans saying he should step down, all the virtue signalers on the left saying he needs to be removed, he's this, he's that, why aren't we seeing the same outcry against Senator Franken? Or you could say, well, I guess we are seeing the same outcry, it's just from different sides. Well, then doesn't that tell the story? Tells quite a story. How divided this nation really is. But this is all the dominoes falling from Weinstein Gate, which is all the dominoes falling from the establishment after the election of Trump. And just like we've told you, they're going to sacrifice all of these minions in order to save their political agenda. They will create environment where all you have to say is, I accuse this person of sexual harassment, and then they're guilty, and then they can stop whatever political movement that they're on board with. Look at Roy Moore. Now, was Roy Moore guilty of the things he did? Was any of it illegal? There hasn't really been any evidence. There does seem to be a lot of tampering, a lot of fraud going on. You got Bloom involved. You got some weird signature on a yearbook that doesn't seem right. And then you've got the Republican establishment calling for Roy Moore to step down. I've yet to see any members of Congress call for Franken to step down. Not anyone. So what does that tell you? So we'll continue to monitor that situation. But again, this is it's the last 3 days now. GOP leaders weigh drastic plan to save Alabama Senate seat. To save the seat. The craziest idea I've heard floated out there, which actually could be pretty incredible, is that Sessions goes back to the seat, and then Trump appoints a new head of the DOJ. I think that's probably a long shot. But it should be interesting to see how this works for him. In the meantime, mistrial declared in bribery trial of New Jersey Senator Menendez. And the rib here is he gets accused of soliciting underage prostitutes, but because it was in court and it's a mistrial, there is no boo in the media. There is no crying from the Democrats or the Republicans. It's just kind of like it never happened. So does anyone else get their day in court? Or do you just get accused and then you're guilty? And a bigger, I have a bigger question, and I'm going to open the phone lines and ask you this. But with all of this sexual harassment going on, am I missing something here? Welcome back to the War Room. I'm your host, Owen Schroyer. And I'm trying to figure this out. I mean, legitimately. Because I've said before that Hollywood or the halls of Congress or the entertainment industry, wherever it is that all of this sexual harassment is happening, that's just mostly confined to those halls and those industries, and it's not really a problem to the average citizen. We don't live our lives that way. That's just not how we behave. That's not the environments that we put ourselves in. But it just continues to just get more widespread, more wide-ranging. Now you have an instance of either genius marketing or I don't even know what goes on, where Drake, a rapper, is doing a concert and he literally stops his show and calls someone out in the crowd for sexual harassment in the middle of a rap show. I mean, you've never seen anything like this. He stops the show and says, quit touching on women out there. Quit harassing them. I'll come out there and beat your, you know what. It's like, am I missing something here? Is this just like some does this really just happen in everyone's lives? I don't know. It's very strange. By no way, shape, or form have I been sheltered. I mean, I pretty much feel like I've seen a lot of walks of life, and I just have never really noticed sexual harassment being some widespread problem that plagues women. So, I mean, I'm genuinely asking. In fact, let's give out the phone line to women. That's what we'll do. We'll ask our female audience. 888-201-2244. 888-201-2244. What do you think about all this? Is sexual harassment a real thing? They've been telling you that the campus is the rape culture of the world or whatever on college campuses. That's obviously ridiculous. It's more like Sweden now, where multiculturalism is failing. But regardless, it's just the weirdest thing to me now. And I can't tell if this is, a self-fulfilling prophecy or if there's really an issue here. Because I don't want to sound insensitive when I talk about this stuff, but when you see a rollout of a narrative like this and you see the political undertones, your ears kind of perk up and you start to kind of scratch that curiosity itch that says something else might be behind this. So, but the allegations continue to come out. Look at this. This is from the Telegraph. Kevin Spacey, Old Vic Theater finds 20 allegations of inappropriate behavior. So apparently, these are all on the record at the Old Vic Theater. And it goes back for years. And it's 20 men that are saying that Kevin Spacey was sexually harassing them. Most of them members of the staff at the time. So now again, though, why is it now an issue? Why is it at the forefront now? Why is it? I'm just trying to figure it out. It goes on and on. Of course, the leading story that's really just, I think, the reason why it has so much gravity is because it shows the double standard. Senator Al Franken kissed and groped me without my consent. Nothing funny about it. That's Leanne Tweeden. You heard the clip in the opening segment. And again, this is something that has been known about Al Franken. You can go back and look at his past. This was a story from 2008. Again, this is nothing new. GOP criticized Franken over rape joke in 95 article. This was from June 2008, an article from 95 when Franken made a rape joke. And then I just played for you the clip in the last segment where Franken made a rape joke, alleging that Rob Schneider, not Rob Schneider. Is it Rob? No, Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner. Rob Schneider is actually a funny, real liberal. No, Rob Reiner saying that his father beat him and raped him and basically, whored him out to his friends. That's just what Franken joked about. I'm sorry to speak like this, family audience, but that's what Franken joked about. So now it all comes out. Now it's okay to call out Al Franken. How about this one? New York Post, Playmate says Al Franken groped her. So it just goes on and on and on. Everyone covers it now. You can cover Al Franken groping women now, being perverted now. It's all okay. Now it's okay. Even Chelsea Handler can come around now. Even Chelsea Handler wearing her pussy hat has to come around. Chelsea Handler to Juanita Broderick, I believe Bill Clinton raped you. Will she go down the line of the rest of the women that accused Bill Clinton? Kathleen, Willie, the list goes on. Funny how that works. And of course, this is Hillary Clinton, the enabler, the defender, the wife of Bill Clinton. When will they call her out? Is that down the line? How about Huma Abedin Anthony Weiner. Do we forget about these things? But now it's okay, Chelsea Handler says, to believe Juanita Broderick. And you know what? Let's go to that now. In fact, do we have the Clinton clip ready to go? Did we pull that, guys? Yes. Let's play Bill Clinton's testimony defending himself against the allegations of him and Monica Lewinsky.
If Monica Lewinsky says that while you were in the Oval Office area you touched her breast, would she be lying?
Let me say something about all this.
All I really need for you,
okay,
Mr.
Bill.
President,
I know,
is
but
to say,
okay, Slick
I won't
Willie.
answer under the previous grounds or to answer the question. You see, because we only have 4 hours and your answers
know, well,
are extremely lengthy.
But go ahead and ask your questions.
The question is, if Monica Lewinsky says that while you were in the Oval Office area you touched her breast, would she be lying?
That is not my recollection. My recollection is that I did not have sexual relations with Miss Lewinsky, and I'm staying on my former statement about that.
If she said,
My statement is
How is
I
that
did
not
have
perjury,
sexual
by the
relations
way?
as defined by that.
if she says that you kissed her breast, would she
there
be
he
lying?
is. Oh, crap, I just perjured myself. I need to correct that
my
statement.
former statement.
Okay. If Monica Lewinsky says that while you were in the Oval Office area you touched her genitalia, would she be lying? That calls for a yes, no, or reverting to your former statement.
I will revert to my statement on that.
If Monica Lewinsky says that you used a cigar as a sexual aid with her in the Oval Office area, would she be lying? Yes,
This was
no,
the President of the
or
United
no
States, folks. Think
I will
about it.
revert to my former statement.
Think about it. This is the
If Monica
President of
Lewinsky
the
said
United
that you had phone
States
sex with
with
her,
these accusations made
would she
against
be
him.
lying?
Basically pleading the fifth in court using lawyer speak.
Well, that is,
But Roy Moore,
at least in general terms, I think
Roy
it's
Moore
covered
is
by my
condemned.
statement. I addressed that in my statement, and that I don't believe is.
So there you go,
Let me-
folks.
Let me define.
Again, you got to put this all into perspective. You have to look at it from the bigger picture. Why was it okay for Bill Clinton back then? Why was it always okay for Al Franken? Now all of a sudden it's a problem. Why does everyone ignore the allegations against Menendez, but Roy Moore needs to step down? What is going on here? We're going to take some phone calls on the other side. This is The War Room. Typically, we would be joined by Roger Stone, but he is involved in some ongoing litigation right now, and he will be taking care of that and be joining us next week. So have no fear, Roger Stone will not be silenced, and with your support, INFOWARS will not be silenced either. Go to InfoWarsStore.com right now. We've got 50% specials, 50% off specials still ongoing right now. Now, we can't sell some of these things for 50% off anymore because people rush to the website and actually buy most of the products, and then we have to hold some back because of the auto ship customers, so we have to end those specials. But we still have 50% off Biome Defense, Z-Shield, Caveman, Vitamin Mineral Fusion, Super Blue Fluoride-Free Mouthwash, and Secret 12 Vitamin B12. So all of those 50% off specials are still ongoing. Of course, the big special is that we still have free shipping store-wide. And you can catch major savings on bigger items such as water filters and emergency food supplies when you take advantage of the free shipping that we have extended at InfoWarsStore.com right now. But this is our lifeblood. This is how we go on. This is how we expand. As I sit in the studio on air, Alex is working on something else to make InfoWars better, and a new studio is being put together, bigger, brighter, stronger, louder than any studio we have. And we have new products that we've just introduced at InfoWarsStore.com, Flora Life and Carnivore, and both of these products are at an introductory price of 33% off. So constantly adding new studios, new products because of your support at InfoWarsStore.com. We're about to go to the phone lines, but folks, I've got breaking news here that no one else wants to touch. No one wants to cover this. No one wants to talk about the real Russian agent that's in Washington, D.C. It's been right in front of us the entire time. So obvious, I can't believe none of us saw it, folks. Alex Ovechkin. That's right. The hockey player from Russia that plays for the Washington Capitals, an all-star, probably will be in the NHL Hall of Fame, and he was caught colluding with Vladimir Putin. Look at that. Look at that traitor. Look at that operative. Look at that Russian scum. Russian scum. It's ridiculous. So there's Vladimir Putin honoring the great hockey player, Alexander Ovechkin in Russia. Of course, Ovechkin is the star player for the Washington Capitals, the Washington, D.C. hockey team, where he's played for 12 years. And he calls D.C. his second home. But he's not Russian scum. He's not colluding. He's all good to go because Russia's not the bad guy. In fact, Russia could be a great ally of ours if it wasn't for the left trying to start war with them and gaslight the United States citizens on what and who Russia really is. But watch out! Watch out for that Russian scum, Alex Ovechkin. Okay, let's go to the phone lines. I propose the question specifically to our female audience out there. Have I been missing something my whole life growing up? Being involved in all sorts of activities, not a hermit at all growing up. Seeing, hearing, going to events, concerts, sporting events, covering things, like everything. I've always tried to experience the world, and I've never seen sexual harassment as a major issue. In fact, I don't really even see it much. The few times I did experience it in my youth, it immediately got called out by real men and the situation was taken care of. But so I asked the women in our audience, am I missing something? Is this a real issue? Is this just Hollywood and the entertainment industry projecting their culture on the rest of the world? Or are women really being intimidated and silenced out of this stuff? You've got a news story. Sylvester Stallone accused of sexually assaulting a 16-year-old fan and then forcing that same fan to also engage in sexual activities with his bodyguard, unless, of course, you're Bill Clinton, then it's not sexual activity, even though it's sex. So what is going on here? Now, again, how are we supposed to know what's real and what's not? How am I supposed to discern what's real and what's not? I don't want to live through the French Revolution where someone accuses you of being an anti-revolutionary and then you get your head chopped off. At the same time, I don't want to live in a country where major industries such as Hollywood and the entertainment industries are dominated by a bunch of sexual predators that trickles down into our everyday culture. But I don't know. That's why I ask women, is this something that's really going on? Do you feel that sexual assault is a serious issue? Is toxic masculinity a real issue? Or is this all being foisted upon us because of a larger political agenda? Let's start with Alyssa in Oregon. Go ahead, Alyssa.
Hey, Owen.
Hello.
To answer your question, no. The thing is, the way this whole thing is being spun, it's like you said, they want to blame all men for the actions of the few powerful elite that are exploiting, their positions of power to take advantage of people less influential than they are. And, it's just amazing to see the hypocrisy happening between Al Franken, the reaction with Al Franken, as opposed to the reaction with Roy Moore, which I believe now 100% is a PR rollout.
You know what? And you know what? See, and here's what we tend to do, Alyssa, in this very tight news cycle that we live in now, where it's like 24-hour, 48-hour cyclone that we go through, and we kind of lose perspective on things. Let's not forget, there was a 1 million women's march on Washington, D.C. because of the allegations against Trump. Where are the women's marches against Al Franken? Where are the women's marches against Harvey Weinstein? Where are the women's marches against Bill Clinton, who has statues in his honor in Arkansas? That's what you're saying, though. The hypocrisy is so thick you could cut it with a knife.
Exactly. And here's the thing, too, is that, I'm hearing this, the more I hear about the Roy Moore case, the shakier it is. And the more I hear about Al Franken, the more solid it gets. Like, for example, there was this narrative going around, and I think Alex still has yet to read the open letter that he wrote to Sean Hannity, where he flat out denies that he even went and tried to court teenage girls. He says that never happened. So this whole thing is just falling apart with Roy Moore. And then
Roy Moore handled the entire Hannity thing terribly, I think. Unfortunately for him, perhaps he was truly trying to be honest, and that's just sometimes what happens is you just fumble over your words and things can be misspoke. But regardless, it's definitely not fair, I would say, for Roy Moore to be going through what he's going through.
Exactly. And the thing that made me question it is, initially, and, there was some part of me that was like, what if this is true? Because, there is such an epidemic of this in positions of power, not with men generally, but with men and women in positions of power. But the thing is the way that the swamp tried to eat him and, throw him out when the swamp is just filled with this type of scum. And if he really did this, they would probably just whisk him right into the Senate if he really was a sexual predator, because then he'd be blackmailable. So I don't know. This whole thing just doesn't, it stinks.
Great point. Great point. Thank you for the call, Alyssa. Great point. Is that how he gets involved in government? Because he's blackmailed by all of these sexual assault allegations in the past. But again, I didn't expect I would go find old jokes of Al Franken joking about baby rape. I didn't think I'd go find an old article in Harvard Crimson where he's saying he doesn't like homosexuals. He was glad that one of them died. So it's just like, and I'm not the only one that knew this stuff was out there. Other people knew this stuff was out there. But the hypocrisy is really, I think, what stands out of all of this. And the people of Alabama, I think, are just sick of the entire nation trying to decide their election. But there's a reason for that. All right. I opened up the phone lines for women to call in to voice their opinions on all the sexual harassment allegations that are coming down the pike. And we'll get to this in a second, guys. I forgot. I want to go here first. And again, there's all of these signs that now we're going to talk about this like it's a serious issue. This is a serious problem. Everybody has to deal with this. Everybody has to face this reality. Men assaulting women and sexual assault of men and bullying and toxic masculinity. All of this needs to be addressed now. We're finally doing something about it. We're being progressive. We're addressing this head on, even though it really seems to all be coming out of Hollywood and our government. But here's another sign that this is just another push by the establishment to kind of brainwash people into a mindset. This is from Elise Hu on Twitter, who is a correspondent for NPR. NPR, well, she says, big turnout for NPR's board meetings public session as we confront our workplace sexual harassment issues. We are in overflow room. So now everyone is having this. NPR holds a board meeting on a public board meeting confronting their own workplace sexual harassment issues. Actually, now that I'm recalling, I do believe there was some head of NPR that just went down for sexual harassment allegations. Somebody see if you can pull that up. But now that I'm recalling, I do remember seeing that. There was some member at NPR that got accused of sexual assault. So is that a single issue or is that a widespread issue? Oh, there it is. Yeah. Chairman steps down as NPR grapples with harassment crisis. I mean, what? So that's what I'm saying. Am I missing something? Have I been missing this my entire life? And I've worked in the media. It's the craziest thing. Look, I've worked in media. Folks, there is an aspect of media. And it's just men and women. This is how they've been operating for a long time. When you enter sports media, when you enter sports media and you're a young single girl, and let's say you start out as a sideline reporter, have you noticed a pattern emerging? I shouldn't say all, a lot of them end up getting married to athletes. Why do you think that is? So, like at some point, it's just crazy. It's just corrupting people's minds into thinking a certain thing about reality, about men, about women, about sex. But here is the meme of the day, folks. At War Room Memes on Twitter. This is the meme of the day. CNN breaking. Picture of Roy Moore surfaces groping a media reporter while she was sleeping. And of course, the joke is there are no photos of Roy Moore assaulting any women. That's Al Franken. And that comes from Freddie Fred at Made in America. Made_in_America. You win meme of the day. Funny stuff there at War Room Memes on Twitter. We will retweet your memes. Let's go back to the phone lines. Let's go to Alicia in New York. Go ahead, Alicia.
Hi, Owen.
Hi.
Yeah, so I think the answer to your question is a little bit of the yes and a no. Like, if you're missing something, I think it's just when there's power involved, when there's the feeling that you can get away with it, or like in Hollywood.
Okay, so not to cut you off, I just want to kind of clarify this. So it really is a specific section of our culture, or better yet, of our society, such as Hollywood, such as some of these halls of power in the government, big entertainment, and you're saying that it's really more kind of secluded to those areas of our society, you believe?
I think so. I think like people who are predators in that sense, like they have to feel that they have the power to do it, that they'll be able to get away with it, or either they're part of a group where that's like the tone. And I think that's part of what happened in Hollywood, where it's like,
you know what, then let me ask you this question then, because one thing that we have noticed, and obviously there's gray areas and anomalies to everything, but one thing that seems to be true is with a lot of times when this happens to athletes, they really don't get away with it. I mean, think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there always seems to be a media outrage. And most of the time, it may not even make it to court, but there's always a media outrage whenever an athlete gets accused. But you don't see that in these other walks of life.
Yeah, I mean, I guess with the athletes, they go into it with the sense of that they're going to get away with it. And if all they get is kind of a slap on the wrist and some bad press, and they get to play and keep their contract, then in a sense, you know, that is kind of getting away with it.
Or do you think, and again, I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate, not that I don't think that this could be true, or do you think that maybe a lot of times the accusations coming against the athletes are actually false?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a part of it too. I mean, I think that there's a kind of opportunism that happens from the you know, the would-be victim side, where, you know, someone would say, well, maybe I can get some money out of this person, maybe I can, you know, blackmail them or get some publicity for myself. So, I mean, I think there's that element too, like people or women putting themselves in positions that are a little sketchy and thinking that it's going to get them something. And then it maybe doesn't turn out the way they want. And then, you know, it's this whole big blown out thing of, you know, accusing someone and kind of coming forward and saying that. So
let's say though, okay, so let's take this one step further. Let's say that we do have issues in government and in Hollywood, but more specifically in government. I mean, Hollywood is its own little thing. Government is publicly funded. What do we start to do now if we take all of these allegations seriously and we want to clean up government from sexual predators like perhaps an Al Franken or allegedly a Roy Moore? I mean, what do you think the answer to this is? I mean, should Al Franken step down? Should Roy Moore be removed from the race? How do these things get handled when we haven't even had any court cases? You know, we don't even know what was possibly illegal, but there's this media outcry. I mean, what do you think is the way to handle all of these allegations?
Yeah, I think in the case of Al Franken, I mean, there's just evidence right there that I don't even see, you know, not that he doesn't deserve his day in court, but I think there's enough reason for him to possibly like have to step down or resign from his duties. In the case of Roy Moore, and it's more of like a time is of the essence thing because of the race that's actually going on right now. But I don't know. I mean, I think he should possibly be able to stay in, and then if it's actually confirmed and they find out that this is all true and there was something illegal, then, you know, later on there could be, you know, they could look to get him out of that seat and do whatever is necessary to fill it. But
well, yeah, and I think that is obviously the real issue on the back burners with the whole Roy Moore thing is, yes, they have character assassinated him. Yes, they have smeared his name. And you know, maybe the allegations are true. Maybe they're not. It doesn't look like there was anything illegal. That's not the point. The point is for the Democrats and the left, the point is to character assassinate someone in order to get your political objective through. So for me, I would say Roy Moore should stick it out and he just should finish this thing. And my guess is when it's all said and done, this is all going to disappear because it's probably mostly made up or you know, exaggerated to begin with. And then as far as Franken is concerned, I don't know how he recovers from this. He's publicly embarrassed. He's a complete joke now. No one could ever take him seriously again. This photo is how he will be remembered for the rest of his career. So I don't think Franken really has any other choice simply because the public outcry. Thank you so much for the call, Alicia. Let's take another call before the segment comes to a close. Let's go to Juliet. You've got 60 seconds. Go ahead.
Hi, Owen. Thank you for taking my call. Well, as far as sexual harassment, I can say from experience, I think it should be a case-to-case basis. Never in my life have I ever been on the workplace or anywhere where I've experienced sexual harassment. I do, however, I think your last two callers really hit the nail on the head with that. But I do, however, from a personal point of view, I experienced something when I was very young. And it's pretty funny that during the election last year, it was the women that were hyping up the allegations against Trump. And if anything, that probably led to me having, I guess you could say, PTSD in a way of things of the past, because these same women would not get my back in a situation like I just described.
I see what you're saying. And so there's like two kind of back angles there where they're forcing real victims to have to relive these things, while at the same time they're making real victim stories less audible, less heard, because they're shouting their fake claims from the top of the mountain and getting all the attention.
Absolutely. And it's like, that's exactly what it is. It's for
all right, folks, we'll be right back.